Today I'm not going to be talking as much about food as I am about this new slicer I got. I'm very excited. I started looking again at slicers recently when I saw a video on the Oklahoma onion burger. And I wanted to slice onions real thin, but I've always wanted a slicer for everything from deli meats to cheeses and breads and vegetables, and I finally got one. Today I'm going to go through a deep dive of the slicer, all of its components, how to use it, and how to clean it and store it. Let's see. Come in a little closer. What I got was the Beswood 250R. I'm real excited about this. It's a little higher grade than some of the others that I saw. It is NSF, which is commercial grade. Everything seems a bit heavier. The whole thing weighs 33 pounds. It's heavy. So what do we get in the box? Well, we got the main unit, of course. That includes the motor, the blade, the table, everything. They also included the table shield, a bottle brush, a bread deflector, some machine oil, and an Allen wrench, which I'm assuming is to take the blade on and off. Now I want to show you the components of the unit. On the very front right here, we have the center plate. On the top, we have the sharpener. This is the product table, and this is the product handle. This is the gauge plate that goes up and down with this knob right here. It goes from 1 millimeter, very, very thin, to almost a ½ inch. It's 12 millimeters. It's always good to keep this all the way open so you can't cut your fingers on that blade. Over here, we got the thickness gauge, or the thickness control knob, and the on and off button. On the back here, we have the lock for the sharpener. It lets the sharpener come on and off. And then we have the knob that takes the center plate all the way off, which we will do later. So what I have to do now is put this guy together a little bit. It's not much, it's just a few things that need to be assembled. The first thing I'm going to work on is the product cover, or shield, I guess you would call it. And then you take a flat-headed screwdriver, give it a little twist, not too hard, it's plastic. That's done. It's that easy. Here's the bread deflector, and we will be doing bread today, so I'm going to install this as well. Now, they didn't say what size this screw was, so I used my universal wrench. So apparently, you just want to make sure that this doesn't touch the blade, like that. Just make sure this is tight enough to hold that in there. So the next thing I want to do is I want to get some of the factory dust. I see some like fibers from the container and that type of thing, and I don't want that on my food. So I'm just going to quickly rinse this off and sanitize it so it's safe for our lunch. I want to get anywhere that food's going to touch. So all of this right here, product table, the best I can. What we're making today is turkey sandwiches, but not just any turkey sandwiches. We're going to have thin sliced bread, thin sliced turkey, thin sliced pickle or maybe a cucumber. We're going to have medium, and we're going to have a thick slice. We're going to try to show you some of the capabilities of this slicer and what you can do with it. We're going to have super thin sliced cheese. We're going to have thick sliced cheese. That's why I got this, is so I can make things the way I want them to be. Beswood provided us with the measurements in millimeters. I decided that I wanted to get the measurements in US. So I went through and I measured the total height of this. It's 15 inches. The total width from end to end, the widest part, is 20 inches. The depth from the very furthest away to giving me room for the knob is 17 inches. Width, height, depth, and then the clearance. That's how much room we have from the deck to the bottom is about 1.25 inches, which I have found out, if you'll come around here and look, will not fit a commercial quarter pan. Then I'm assuming it won't fit a flat pan. Now you can fit it in like this, that'll be fine. Or you can get a standard plate and that'll fit underneath to catch. You're gonna have product coming right here, and sometimes you need more room. So you get a sheet pan right up against here, a bigger sheet pan, or you can just catch it on a plate. So that said, you're not gonna run this right up against the counter. You're gonna run this from the side and you're gonna catch over here. So you're gonna want it to be a little offset like that. So stay right there. So this is the edge of your kitchen counter. You have your product here. You put it in here and you're gonna be slicing at an angle so you can catch your product as it comes through, which you'll see shortly. And that's the measurements of the Beswood 250R. Okay, this is real important. Whether it's you operating this machine or if you're going to delegate the use of the machine to an employee or someone in your house, there's some things you need to pay attention to. The machine should be on a level, hard surface. You don't want it to be sitting on a plate and wobbling all over the place. You want this thing to be firm and on a flat surface where the little rubber suction cups can be used. The guards must be in place at all times. Always use the 3-prong grounded plug. And if you're using an extension cord like we are, make sure it's a three-prong grounded plug. Always use the food pusher. Never ever use your hands to slice the food itself. Also, never touch this part. That's the knife. Never touch any part of that while it's rotating. Keep your hands, arms, hair, and loose clothing clear of all moving parts. If for some reason you're cutting and it gets jammed, turn off the machine, unplug the machine, and then try to loosen. But always move your hands this way, whether on the inside or the outside. Never reach in and grab. You want to grab this way. You can't cut yourself that way. Of course, you want to turn it off and unplug it before you clean and sanitize it. And you want it in a well-lit area where you can see everything. That goes without saying. As far as storage goes, don't store outside. Keep it dry and dust-free. It is chrome-plated or stainless steel, but the blade is carbon steel, which I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to help keep that from rusting. It says in the manual to keep it out of direct sunlight and avoid too much jarring, dropping, any kind of shocking like that. So with those basic things in mind, you should be good to go. Just use common sense and keep your hands out of here, and always use the guard. I know with a mandolin, we like to just go. You can't do that with these. This will take parts off. So now we got it all installed. We're all safe. We're good to go. It's time to make a turkey sandwich. And we're gonna make actually 3 hell of a turkey sandwiches. So this is interesting. The bread is bigger than that goes back. And you're like, well, do I have to cut that in half to stick it in there? No, you don't. On the bottom of here, there's still tongs that you can use to get into the bread, and it has friction, but you can pull it forward. So the first thing you want to do is to use the knob and get it as thick as you want it. All right, that's pretty thin for bread slices. That's pretty thick for bread slices. We're gonna go in the middle, about 6 millimeters, and we're going to get the crust off and a couple slices that long. Turn it on. The bread deflector is on. I'm pushing down a little bit and pushing towards the blade, and now I'm pushing this way. Lift it up, reset it, and now we get to some real slices. I'm gonna make thicker slices now. So I'm gonna turn the knob to 12 millimeters. Turn it on. Oh, that's not gonna work.
Pretty one didn't work.
No, it didn't.
Got some good ones. Small sandwiches.
Well, that bread didn't work out so good. I didn't know there was an air bubble the size of Milwaukee in the middle of it, so we may not get as many sandwiches as I thought. But we got some thin slices. We can make a nice thin turkey sandwich. Next is Mama's favorite, everything bread. This is more like a French loaf. So to get a sandwich that's bigger than this, we're gonna do what's called on the bias, and I'll show you how. So looking at the blade, we're gonna call this horizontal. We're gonna call this a 90-degree angle. We're gonna call this a 45-degree angle. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna place the bread so that it's at a 45-degree angle, and that way we can get some longer pieces out of it. First, you gotta decide your thickness. Everything bread. Woo! So we got done with the bread. It was kind of greasy. We kind of did a light cleaning on the slicer, and now we're going to cut some cabbage for coleslaw. I have cut it in half and took the core out of it. We're going to cut some lettuce to go on the sandwiches, cucumber, and pickle. The one thing I like about the slicer for cabbage is you know how thick every piece is going to be. I can slice cabbage without any trouble, but not every piece is the same thickness. This way, you know it's going to be that thick. As it is to hold this down, don't do it.
Oh yeah.
That's nice. Cucumber, what I'm going for is really thin sliced ribbons for the thin sandwich. Put it in there. Bring down the food. I've got it set to 3 millimeters. We'll do a test. That's too thick. I'm gonna go down to 2 millimeters. Still too thick. I'm gonna go down to 1 millimeter. Look at that. That's what I was going for right there. pickle strips at 3 millimeters. I like that size. What do you think? Thinner? Yeah, 2 millimeters. Okay, a little red onion for our turkey sandwich. I'm gonna do this in 3 sizes. I'm gonna try it out first at 2.5 millimeters. Like that, very much. At 5 millimeters. I'm gonna go ahead and try one at 1.5 millimeters. Millimeter. That's a 0.5 millimeter. Very nice. Okay, it's time for a tomato. Beautiful heirloom tomato. I'm gonna get in there bottom first. I got it set on 2 millimeters. Thin slices. 4 millimeters. 5 millimeters. 5 millimeters seems to be like the perfect slice. All right, this is provolone cheese for our turkey sandwiches. And we're gonna try 2 millimeter slices. That's a nice slice. I'm gonna try for the thin one. I'm gonna go for, on the measurement, 0.5 millimeter slice. Love it. How thin that is. 2 pieces for the thin sandwich. I'll go back to 2 millimeters for the medium sandwich. Then we're gonna go to 4 for the thick sandwich. That's a hefty slice right there. Okay, so we've done all the veggies, we've done the cheese, we've done the bread. Now it's time to do the turkey. We're gonna do 2 different kinds of turkey today. One is Jennie-O oven roasted turkey, and the other is Jennie-O Cajun style turkey. I point this out only to say I really love Jennie-O turkey, and if you can find it in your store, I highly recommend it. So we're gonna try this at 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters, and 3 millimeters and see what we come up with. The first one is the oven roasted turkey, which we'll use on 2 of the sandwiches. I failed to mention that both of these are fully cooked, so there's no cooking required. So the way I'm gonna do this is, it's an odd shape. I'm gonna put the flat side down and the point side up, and that'll give me the least amount of remaining product at the end. I got it set down in there as good as I can. I got it set on 1 millimeter. Now the first one is got to have a lot of the crust or the bark on it. Probably the best piece is this first one. The 1 millimeter thick turkey. I want you to get in close and look at that. That is just beautiful. So we're going to do this at 2 and 3. 2 millimeters. 1, 2, 3, 5. And that to me is the perfect thickness. for any kind of sandwich. But we have a thick one tonight, so we're going to do a couple swipes at 3 millimeters. 2, 3. And that is the 3 millimeter thickness. So that was the oven roasted. We're going to do exactly the same with the Cajun. Set it in there exactly the same. We're going to set it for 1 millimeter. You can see that marinade got all the way into it. You can see how much redder it is. So that's the 1 millimeter. That's the 2 millimeter. That's the 3 millimeter. So now we got all of our turkey cut, all of our elements for our sandwich cut. But what we have is a mess. I strongly suggest that you don't let this sit while you have your sandwich and watch football. I strongly suggest that you put everything away to the side and spend the next 10-15 minutes getting this thing sparkling clean, because if you don't, you're going to regret it in the morning. So we've got everything cut, and now it's time to clean the machine. This takes a little while, but it's not that difficult. Just takes a little getting in the edges and paying attention to detail. I have a certain way of doing it. Clean it with soap, rinse it with water, and then put a sanitizer on it. And then I have a special little trick for the carbon steel blade to make sure it doesn't rust. So everything is dirty. We have soapy water with Dawn, we have sanitizer, and we have some rinse water, and then we have lots of meat that needs to be cleaned up. So the first thing we need to do is get all the shrapnel off. Don't forget to put that to 0 so you don't accidentally cut yourself. Because it's so dirty, I'm going to go ahead and take this off so that we can get in all the nooks and crannies, and then it makes it easier to get under here. And it's just like cleaning anything: soapy water, rinse water, and then sanitizer. On the blade, what I do is I get a dry towel, and then I rub like this to get the whole blade clean. On the outside, at the same time I'm cleaning all this while this is rubbing all around the edges. And then I get the rinse water and do the same thing. And then on the back, it's the same process. You rub the soapy water on, using the dry towel. I'm gripping the blade and I'm holding it still while I rub this. Is there enough light? You see in the back, you can see the whole blade and all little pieces and everything in here. But in the front, let's get this rinsed real quick. So that's all soaped and rinsed and relatively clean, but we don't know what's under here. Food inevitably gets put under there. So this has a really cool little no tools required knob. That pulls this off so you can check it for any dirt or debris underneath, which this one had none, which is pleasantly surprising. And then if you look really close, really close, there's debris stuck down here. So we have to find the little Allen wrench that it came with. And very carefully remove the blade. Now, this is sharper than most blades, so you want to be super careful. But if you look down here now, you can see all that stuff we might have left behind, which is disgusting, but it can also be a health hazard, so it's worth the trouble to take that blade off and get all the nooks and crannies you can. Now the truth is I probably should have took this off too, because if you look up here, there's all kinds of seeds from the cucumbers and the tomatoes all up underneath here too. And I know it seems like a pain in the butt, but you want this clean for the next time. And if you fail to do this once, it'll be stuck on there, it seems like forever. So we get it all cleaned on the edges. And with that blade out, we can even see it down here a little better. So once that's all washed and rinsed, what I'm going to do is rub this whole thing down with the sanitizer. That's the sanitizer I use. That's all cleaned and sanitized, and this has to sit on there for at least a minute before you do anything else. Oh crap. There. So the other thing I want to clean and sanitize is this blade, but this thing will cut you. So I got it pretty good, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. So I'm just going to use the sanitizer cloth. I'm going to go around the edges very carefully. See, it's even cutting the rag. And we really didn't need to take this off for the blade, but we did need to take it off for getting underneath the blade. And then position this with the threaded ends up. Try your darn best not to touch the edges. Line it up. So I got it back installed and cleaned up a little bit. We're gonna put this back on. It's really simple. Line it up the way it was. Oop, wrong one. This long one. Righty-tighty. That's done. Put this back on. Watch out for those little teeth because they hurt. That's done. That's all done. Okay, here's my secret weapon for the blade. I've read online that a lot of people have complained about the blade rusting, which it is a carbon steel blade, and it's going to rust. So this is not in the book, and it's probably not recommended. And I can't advocate you doing this, but what I do is I take a little bit of mineral oil and I rub it on the blade. And the reason why I open it up like that is so I can get the edge of the blade on both sides. And again, I'm just gonna wipe it off. Just a very, very thin coating. Why do I use mineral oil? Frankly, because it doesn't go bad. And like some other vegetable oils do. And that's it. As far as the blade sharpener goes, you don't want to sharpen this blade too often. So we're not going to get into the blade sharpening techniques this time. We'll save that for a future video. Here are the sandwiches. They turned out really nice. Everything's sliced up really, really well. You see the large, thick one. My favorite was the thin one. I really liked it. As you can see, it did a great job. I'm really happy with it. If I had any complaints, it's my own fault really, because it says right on the sale page that it's a 1/2 inch thick slicer, and that'll prevent me from cutting large cuts of steaks or pork or anything, but I'm really happy with this purchase. The quality seems outstanding. The build is great. It operates flawlessly. Wasn't that hard to clean. I'm really happy with it. I would recommend this slicer, and I would buy it again.